Hi, I'm Sue Mazinga with Websense Engineering. This short video offers tips for getting the most of Websense software in your network.
Thanks, Sue, and I'm Kay Zimmer with Websense Engineering. In this video, we'll look at the first things to check if reporting data is not being logged. To record data in the log database, Log Server must receive Internet activity data from filtering service, cache the data, and process the data into the log database. So any internal firewalls must allow communication between filtering service and log server, and between log server and the log database. The log database must also have room to store the data. We'll start by making sure the problem isn't with the log database. If log server was logging correctly, then stopped, make sure there is free disk space on the log database machine. If the disk is full, you'll need to add disk space before logging can continue. If the SQL Server machine has plenty of free disk space, find out if your database administrator has set a maximum size for the database. If the log database has reached the maximum size allowed in your environment, find out what the maximum size is. Then use the log database page under Settings and Reporting in Triton Web Security to configure the log database to roll over. That is, create a new partition when it reaches about 80% of the maximum database size. In this deployment, a new partition is created when the log database reaches a size of 5 gigabytes. To manually initiate the rollover process, click Manually Create Partition. A new database partition will be created the next time the ETL job runs. The job processes log data into the database. If the log database page displays an error rather than showing database and partition information, there may be a problem with the ODBC connection to the log database. See the Solution Center article in websense.com on how to update the ODBC and log server connections for more information. Next, we'll look at what to check on the log server machine. If the database has room to grow, use the Windows Service Control Manager to make sure log server is running. If log server is unable to start and is running as a domain admin account, try changing the log server properties to run as a local system account. Then start the service. To do this, right-click Websense Log Server and select Properties. Click the Log On tab and select the Local System Account radio button. If log server still doesn't start, go to the Websense bin directory and open the websense.ini file. Make sure the policy server IP address is correct and that the policy server UID matches the one in the config.xml file on the policy server machine. Also, verify that the logserver.ini file exists and that the file contains readable data. If log server does start, check to see if there are temporary files in the directory that log server uses for caching. If you're using ODBC, this is the cache directory under Websense and then Web Security and Bin. If you're using BCP, a BCP subdirectory is added under the cache directory. Our test environment uses ODBC, so we'll look at the default cache directory. When everything is running properly, each cache file appears in the cache directory for a few seconds. Then disappears as the data is processed into the log database. If no temporary files are being created, even though data is being filtered, filtering service may not be able to connect to log server. Next, we'll use Triton Web Security to check the logging connection between filtering service and log server. If log server appears to be running properly, use the logging page under Settings and General to make sure the filtering service machine can communicate with the log server machine on the logging port. By default, the logging port is 55805. Click Check Status to make sure log server is listening on the selected port. Also, make sure that the log server IP address or name field shows the true IP address or host name for the log server machine and not 127.0.0.1 or localhost. We hope these steps have helped you. For additional log server troubleshooting assistance, go to support.websense.com. Thanks for watching.